Hey guys, here we go into a video on Caleb Plant's best chance at winning this fight against Canelo Alvarez. And of course, it's not going to be knocking him out, probably. It's going to be timing, and it's going to be control of the space between him and Canelo. These are going to be very, very, very important ideas, because if you don't control the space very well, or you control it only with punches, you wind up easily becoming feinted and walked into big punches. Now, Canelo is not the best boxer, okay? He has boxing skills, but his ability to box is not that great. And what I mean by that is he doesn't use the speed, the rhythm, and the timing to overwhelm you, right? To put pressure on you. But what he does is look for traps and look for opportunities to land these very, very, very significant strikes, which become more important later in the rounds because they win the whole fight for you, not just one round. And being very clever to set them up with big jumping steps forward, like this one here, boom, boom, is very important for Canelo. And being able to set those punches up off of things like pendulum steps, right? Here he is, he's going to get his weight to the front foot, shoot the jab, pendulum forward, control with the jab here towards the back foot, and land a massive right hand over his opponent. And the reason that he's able to do this is because of the pendulum step and the massive amount of weight that it allows you to lunge and throw into your opponent, causing you to have much, much, much more damage in your punches than your body weight would suggest from being able to throw a punch just from the ground, okay? Now, Caleb Plant is not that easy to pendulum onto. As you can see, he has a pretty decent pendulum step off the line himself. Now, what's the problem here? Well, every time he runs away from a right hand here, he has to assume that his opponent is going to pendulum step on him. Otherwise, eventually his opponent will pendulum step on him. Okay? Now, this is one of the problems that Mayweather had in his boxing, and why he would usually, instead of moving away with the pendulum step, after ducking here, he would simply duck under your shot and try to body up with you. Or he would wait for the left hook and duck under that and get there. But as you see, Caleb Plant, for the most part, executing boxing rules the way that they're supposed to work. Okay, so he pendulum steps off the line, but again, like Mayweather noted, it takes a lot of energy to do this. Okay, so it's easier to just spoil the fight and tie the guy up, which is something Plant will try as well. Unfortunately, because he's probably going to get really hurt trying to do that. Okay, don't try to body up with Canelo. He's going to be better at fighting on the inside than you, Plant. Very, very, very much better. Okay, now control. Okay, watch him control Jose. I'm not going to say that name. Control his head, and then now he's able to see that jab coming, and now after that jab comes, he reassesses where his target is, right? And he's like, oh, here he is. I found him. Okay, here he is. Oh, here comes the hook. I want you to pay attention to the fact that the hook catches him there. That'll be very important later, but he doesn't lose sight of the right hand, and he's able to roll it under, and for the most part, pretty solid defense, okay? The most important ideas that we want to focus on are the fact that he doesn't lose sight of where the line is, right? Lose control of his opponent. Even though his opponent is fighting him with that left hand there. It's not hitting him, it's not a punch, but he's allowing that punch to get in because he's worrying about the right hand, okay? Again, still good defense, still getting away from it. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. But here, controlling with that lead hand again, right? Here he is controlling, and his opponent tries to shoot a right hand, and the lead hand is obstructing the line between his chin and his opponent's lead hand, right? Or his opponent's attacking hand. And that means he gets kind of a free defense right there, simply by obstructing the line. Now, he's going to continue watching out for this rhythm and controlling his opponent's head here, right? He understands that the next position here may be a right hand over the top, and he's waiting for it, and it stops him from seeing this left hand here. Now, he does still, I want you to pay attention to, because he's waiting for the right hand, okay? His opponent gets his weight to the front foot. He's about to throw that left hand here with his left hand, right? But he's also going to pendulum step with his feet, okay? Boom. Now watch him close that distance, right? That's what he's trying to set up with the left hook. Now, you set that up with the left hook or the left hand or that move, very similar to how he did in the previous clip, except that Caleb Plant is getting his weight toward the back foot here, and now he's going to pendulum his weight forward and land here, right? But now Uzcategui, I think that's how it is not in range to land his right hand. In fact, he's in nearly the same position he was in here, right? Very similar position as he was here when he couldn't throw his right hand. As you can see, Caleb Plant's weight follows him. It stays at a very interesting interval. Now, what I want you to pay attention to, if you guys pay attention to the training videos, Caleb Plant's heavy bag work is exactly the same way. He always keeps his head in a very similar place in relation to his target, right? So he doesn't see that punch coming. Again, that's going to be a big problem for him with training with no head movement on the heavy bags and not understanding how to incorporate that in his training. But when he lands here, he's not in position to be hit with the right hand. In relation to his opponent, he's in a very similar position as he was before the pendulum steps. Again, it's not going to be easy for Canelo to find Plant with this kind of footwork, right? The good, very, very solid pendulum step, but he's not executing either of position 1 or position 2 fully, right? Again, no real head movement. His head kind of stays in what I call neutral 1 and neutral 2, and that stops him from getting his weight to the back foot off the line and away from this hook. Canelo also has a pretty decent pendulum left hook too, and he threw it, I don't know against Smith, as if it was super effective at landing, but it did open up a lot of space for him. It was a very dangerous punch for those angles and for his opponent. Now, Plant is a pretty decent fighter on and off the line, okay? He's able to get on the line, off the line, on the line, off the line, and control it while his opponent is setting up pendulum steps and make attacks in between, and sometimes come out ahead. Okay, this is very early in the fight, and what I want to point out is, again, because Caleb Plant fights in this manner and he doesn't really have a lot of power, okay, he's going to have more engagements on average than other fighters, especially against someone he may not be able to hurt, like Canelo, who may be able to take a pretty decent punch. Now, again, Canelo is not a great boxer. He's great at setting traps. He's a fantastic striker. He hits really hard, and he makes his punches count, okay? So Caleb Plant still may be able to kind of work Canelo a little bit early. But these moves, especially these jabs here, stepping in with the jab on the line and off the line, those are very, very similar motions to the pendulum step. In fact, they're kind of shortcutted versions of them. When you get really good at pendulum stepping, you'll be able to do them. So I want you to pay attention to the idea that Caleb Plant, when he's on offense, is always pendulum stepping with his jab. And then on defense, always pendulum stepping off. Now stepping on. Now stepping off. But this sequence of events here is a very, very taxing sequence for Caleb Plant. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of coordination. This sequence is very, very, very difficult to do. Now, a few of the problems with it, Caleb Plant's head is on the line. For a lot of this, his head is in a very similar place. Right there, barely getting away from that shot, almost getting hooked, kind of pulling away. His opponent does find opportunities later in the fight to find him with these punches. Sometimes when Caleb Plant is letting him find him with them, right, when he wants to land his own punches. But I want to point out the fact that the little pendulum steps in here, right, when Uzcategui is trying to come forward here on his jab, he gets hit before he lands for his right hand, right? And he's able to disrupt his rhythm there, and then disrupt that pendulum step there, and stop himself from being hit. So each time Uzcategui gets his weight to the front foot, he's getting hit, and his weight is getting disrupted, and he's not having as an effective pendulum step. This is going to be Caleb Plant's only chance of winning the fight, is if he can disrupt Canelo and stop Canelo from coming forward after his jab, boom, and get off the line for those big, big, big power punches that he's going to be so keen on trying to land. These ones here, these jumping ones, right? Boom, jumps forward. If Caleb Plant can actually time Canelo in between these shots, because these shots take a long time in the fight, right? He got him cut off, and again, it's not like Caleb Plant is not going to know when Canelo's going to be trying it, right? Canelo's doing it here. He's almost got the ring cut off against Smith, so he starts a pendulum step and stops him from crossing the line and lands a big overhand right. And again, that's exactly what he's going to be trying to do throughout the course of the fight, is land really, really big punches. Now, another thing that Caleb Plant can do with this timing, right? And again, because of the fact that he has, I'll say, pretty decent control between him and his opponent, right? He uses the lead hand control, even though he doesn't know all of the things he's supposed to be doing with it. He uses it often enough, to be able to see his opponent's pendulum steps coming. Now, this is very valuable for him, because sometimes when he doesn't use it, right, his opponent's going to try to pendulum on him with this hook here, and he disrupts that rhythm, that position, that pendulum step with this punch here, right? And then with that one, and then that one. A very successful engagement for him, except for the fact that, again, when he throws his punches, he gets stuck on the line. Now, Caleb Plant is he's a very accomplished athlete. His footwork is pretty decent. It's not bad. His positions need work. He needs to learn how to throw punches and get his weight to the front foot, and throw punches and get his weight to the back foot. But he also needs to be able to do that stuff without having to pendulum step everywhere he goes, because he's going to run out of energy, and he's not going to be able to do that the whole fight. And he's going to have more and more engagements like this with Canelo, where he's actually looking to strike and attack him during those pendulum steps. Now, if we learned anything about pendulum boxing this year, I want you guys to think about, I can't remember his first name right now, the bully, Bekdamir, okay? Bekdamir is a huge puncher, massive pendulum puncher. He has incredible pendulum maneuvers. He can really jump into his punches from really far away. And Gabriel Rosado was able to annihilate him. Now, was it easy for Gabriel Rosado? No. But he was patient. He controlled the space between him and his opponent, and he was able to time him with a really, really big power punch. Now, Gabriel Rosado is not the greatest striker. Gabriel Rosado is not the greatest boxer. He's a better striker, probably, than Caleb Plant. He's not a better boxer. Okay? Which means that Caleb Plant is going to be able to set these engagements up better than Gabriel Rosado. But I'm not sure he'll be able to have the same success because he's not as prolific of a puncher as Gabriel Rosado is. So, this is how Caleb Plant is going to be able to win, is by disrupting Canelo's pendulum steps and his ability to come forward through those big, powerful motions. He's going to need to find times to disrupt him with the control, with just the regular lead hand. And then he's going to need times to set down and really smack Canelo. And stop Canelo from feeling comfortable from crossing his line and pendulum stepping on him whenever he wants. If he can do that, and he can stop Canelo from crossing his line and landing big punches for free, he has a pretty decent shot at getting robbed on the scorecards.